At Kauffman, we have delegations, 2 or 3 a month from across the globe saying, you know, entrepreneurship is the factor that counts to American growth. They got that right. But going forward, I think it's going to be more and more difficult for America to contest with the world because the world's pretty good at entrepreneurship. You can figure this out. And we are in some ways making it more difficult for small businesses to get started in the United States.
How so?
Well, you know, there's always this tension among economists. Every time you have a recession, the Keynesians come out of the closet. You know, there is
spend more public money.
Yeah, the dead hand of Keynes gets very vital, and all the guys who, you know, 5 years ago or 6 years ago were being celebrated as Schumpeterian entrepreneurial economists sort of whimper away and go away. Now, the Keynesian model wants a predictable economy. It's a real model that sees 3 actors, and they're John Kenneth Galbraith is the guy who put this unholy thing to text, and that is the countervailing powers of big labor, big government, and big business. That blew apart in the 1980s. We actually got to be very, very entrepreneurial. Think about 1970. We didn't know what a venture capital firm was. We didn't even have the word entrepreneur in our vocabulary. I like to think...
In the 1970s?
No. If you took the SAT in 1970, a precocious kid might say, I think that means inventor. Yeah. And if you ask again, you know, who are inventors in America, you would name dead white men. Okay, think about your own childhood. You'd be talking about Thomas Edison and so forth. You know, I have a 20-year-old, my youngest is 20 years old. She can name 20 people, some of whom are basically her age, and certainly the upper bound is 50, who've started huge companies. And, you know, the point of that is, if you think about this, maybe as much as 40% of the GDP in the United States comes from firms that did not exist in 1980. You know, my children have grown up in an era of entrepreneurial capitalism. But when the Keynesians come back, they want order. My kids grew up in what I call messy capitalism. Yeah. You didn't know who was running, you know. Galbraith kept saying, you know, innovation's going to come from Bell Labs and General Motors Laboratories. This is his thesis. He writes this in about 1984 after Intel, Genentech, Microsoft, and a whole host of huge companies had already been started. The entrepreneurs were working their way in.
And the interesting thing about that is Bill Gates has been quoted often as saying, to the question, what do you fear? He said, I fear 2 people in a garage somewhere with some idea that I don't understand the potential of. It turned out he was right. And their names were Larry Page and Sergey Brin. And that's exactly what happens.
See, I have a bigger fear.
Okay.
And it's at times like this, I don't mean Bill Gates because I don't have any evidence in particular, but the big firms go to government and they basically say, don't let the garage take hold. Okay? You know, it's vital to the national interest that we guys have the market share, and the reason you government should pay attention to us is we create jobs. You can't afford to let us be challenged by these upstarts, which of course is the hallmark of entrepreneurial capitalism.
Sure.
Bill Gates was an upstart. Okay? And he worries about upstarts, but so does General Motors. And when we move to protect huge companies, we send very important signals to people, and that is they win and I can't. So we don't see as much challenge going on. And